Hey Thomas, how are you?
Jonathan, fantastic, man. How you doing?
Doing great, thanks.
Awesome. Listen, last night, 60 Minutes, Bill Whitaker, an African American man, interviewed Kamala Harris, who's Indian one day and decides to be black another day. Okay. So, again, this is 60 Minutes CBS, and they're actually on the side of like, hey, come on, we want you to get in office. He posed the questions about CBS correspondent presses Kamala on specifics about the $50,000 for small business plan. We're dealing with the real world. And basically, the Vice President Kamala Harris was brought up short during the 60-minute interview when she was asked the specifics in her plan to boost small businesses after the CBS correspondent Bill Whitaker accused her of being unrealistic. So, as I had said to you a couple of weeks ago, where I said, and you and I both know, when you start a business, let it be a corporation, LLC, you're allowed to have 5 years of write-offs, okay, of losses. So she's not giving the people $50,000 to start a business, all right? It sounds good when you hear it, but she wants to be able to expand the write-offs, which there are already a tremendous amount of write-offs. When you know business 101 like you and I do, you and I both have PhDs in how to run a business. We've been doing it for so long. And you and I have failed tremendously through the years, but however, we've had our success through our failures because we live and learn. So, what are your thoughts on this specific topic last night?
Just sounds like a lot of talking on things that she doesn't seem to know a lot about, right? And anyone out there that's ever tried to own a business, start a business, has a business, knows the way it works.
Mhm.
Uh, we mentioned it many times. Have a good accountant, have a good the good people around you to help you start up and work your business. But it sounds like they're. I think let me see it. It sounds like right here, right? So most people out there, when they're saying this, includes decreasing the amount of tax deductions offered for startups up to $50,000. Over there, people are just reading $50,000. So a lot of people that don't really understand how this works,
Mhm.
they're probably thinking that they're actually getting $50,000 to start up a business.
Exactly. Exactly. It's the magic of words. People only do selective hearing. But you're right.
So right there, I mean, listen, starting a business is not easy. It's very difficult. You will
Mhm.
have tremendous amounts of burdens that are put on you, financial, personal, everything out there. So there's a lot of risks when starting a business, and it's not for someone to say that this is going to be an easy thing to do and we're giving you 50K just to do it, because
Mhm.
that's what it sounds like to the average person who does not have a business, any business experience.
Of course.
So
Of
that
course.
that's the problem there. Again, you go back to the fact is she talks a lot of stuff that has no meaning. She has nothing to back it up with, and it just sounds to the average person might sound good, but she just keeps on going over and over about how I was brought up and what we're gonna do, but her plan in reality, right? I mean, I think he was
Mhm.
talking about like in reality what's happening, and what she's talking about is not going to be what happens. So
Exactly.
it's a talking point. That's all it is.
And listen, to be honest with you, I mean, Bill Whitaker to come back and say that his quote unquote was he accused her of being unrealistic. I
Yeah.
mean, think about that. This is somebody that's on her side of the fence, and he's even scratching his head. Let's go to the next part of this,
You see here, this
interview.
yeah. Let's go to this piece right here. She says a lot of things like this.
Mhm.
My plan is about saying when you invest in small businesses, you're investing in middle America, middle class America. Again, she's trying to be likable. She's trying to appease the people out there that think that she's trying to go after. But everyone out there that is out there can kind of read through it, and hopefully they see what it really is like.
And
The
that's and
comments.
people who are business people should understand that,
What's
more than
interesting,
anybody, more than a
look at
common
some
person. Okay.
look at some of these comments people are saying. Like, and these are just this is on the NY Post article,
New
right?
York Post. Yeah, New York Post.
So you see, like, I'm not sure if you can see up here, nypost.com. This is their
Mhm.
article, and these are people, like 900 something people that are commenting. Uh, and again, a lot of people are not in favor with what she's saying. So it's not us, it's everyone out there. So
It's the feedback you get. The feedback. Let's go to the next article. Okay, again from the Post, where it's just part of the interview last night.
yeah,
Headline: Kamala Harris skirts questions on historic flood of migrants three times, whiffs on the economic policy, answer in tense 60 minutes interview. All right. So basically, I'm just going to read part of this article. Kamala Harris whiffed on an attempt to explain how she helped boost small business, which we just talked about, and repeatedly deflected when asked about the historic flood of immigrants crossing illegally into the United States since she's been the vice president, okay, and the border czar that she was put in charge of. Harris was unable to describe her fiscal policies would work in, quote, the real world, unquote, including passing both chambers of what is likely to be divided Congress after CBS correspondent Bill Whitaker accused her of being unrealistic. My plan is about saying that when you invest in small business, you invest in the middle class, as you mentioned, okay, Jonathan? And basically, what I find interesting, which a lot of people don't know this, that, we all pay taxes, but it's the 1% income bracket that is responsible for 46% of all the tax money that's taken in by the IRS. That is huge. So the other 99% of the people are paying 54%. So the 1% is putting 46% into the pot. So let's go back to the immigrant part, the historic flood, as CBS put it. Okay. Again, CBS, liberal media in her corner, and she's really dropping the ball here. Your thoughts, Jonathan?
again, simple questions, simple answers, but you're not getting them. You're
Softball, baby, softball.
yeah,
Yeah.
you're getting a bunch of fluffy talking points, fluffy answers, and deflecting, right? That's what she's a pro at the deflecting part, right? No, and Wall was this too. I mean, they get a question asked, and instead of actually answering it, so your potential voters out there know where your stance is, they just talk about random points that don't make sense. They're not realistic. They're not even about the question. Um, and I think the people out there now are starting to see it more and more, and all these news outlets are now pointing it out, which is interesting because they normally aren't pushing for anyone but the Democrats.
Yeah.
So,
It's just insane what's going on. And I'm not trying to today isn't like bash on, Kamala Day. We do our first video in the beginning of the week. We try to include business, and that's what we're, getting into. But this is the news today, meaning, she talked about the $50,000 for businesses. And, that falls into our wheelhouse for today. And, what else is very popular? What's going on right now? The Hurricane Helene. So let's go to the next one. All right. Because the recovery is pathetic of what the White House is doing. And she's part of that White House because she's a vice president. Headline: Hurricane Helene reveals a rudderless White House and an inept Harris flaws. Okay, rudderless. You need a rudder to steer a ship. They don't have no rudder steering the ship, the White House. You're giving money to Lebanon and Ukraine and Palestine. Take care of your own people at home. We are in a situation. I am not far from Asheville and Boone region. And you know what? FEMA is stopping up in Greenville, South Carolina. I had a few of my friends, because I lived up there for a year and was still close, that were volunteer at the local airport there. And they were doing well. And then FEMA on Sunday blocks the runways. And the people who were flying in, people had their own planes, Cessnas and that. They were coming in, and they had over 50 planes. They're loading them up so they can fly into the small areas and land on acreage, if available to them, to deliver supplies. And FEMA blocks the runway on Sunday in Greenville, South Carolina. Why are you doing this? These are our people, our citizens. We've paid out to these immigrants. We're putting them up in 4- and 5-star hotels. We're giving them money, cell phones. And I mean, it's what? As I said to you, like my parents, we used to do food baskets when I was a kid. And my mother said to me when I was 8, 9 years old, and this is like over 40 years ago. It's just like, Mom, why do we do this every month? You know what? America will take care of the world, but they piss on their own people. Well, right now, both Kamala and Biden are pissing on their own people, and they don't give a shit. Your thoughts, Jonathan?
That's just it. I don't. I understand the entire world has issues, needs help, and for the most part, we do our best to help everyone. But when it's a clear decision between helping our citizens, right, the ones that are here, paying to be here, living here, citizens, even some that are not yet citizens at this point, we have to take care of who's in this country, right? People that are devastated, homes wrecked, families split up, people dying, people
And
hurt.
just to clarify that, when you say in this country, meaning people that are Americans, okay,
Yeah.
our citizens, not illegal criminal immigrants. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
I mean, even if you want to include them at this point, they're in our country right now. I'm not saying we want to, but literally people that are here in our country, because there are a lot of people that are here for the right reasons, but they just don't have their citizenship yet. But the
Okay.
point is that we have people here that need us, right? To say we don't have enough money, we have to go back to Congress to get it, but yet we have a lot of money to send elsewhere. It's not a good look for anyone, right? When we are in need, we shouldn't be pushed to the side until another day. We really need the focus and the help of the government to push in and do what's necessary. I
Yeah.
hear a lot of back and forth that people are blocking them and blocking them and blah blah blah. I
Mhm.
mean, come on, I mean, we people are out there. They need help. I see these videos all over the place. They're terrible videos. So it's disturbing. That's what it is.
Dude, it's unbelievable. Here's the thing. I had to go to Department of Motor Vehicle here in South Carolina yesterday. I got to tell you, they're very efficient. As soon as I got out of my truck, I was back in there in 27 minutes and ready and left. But when I was there, because I had to switch my address on my license, that was the reason why.
Yep.
So there was a Spanish guy there and another guy interpreting for him. And the guy had to do the eye test where he like looks into a box. So the woman who was administering the test, she didn't understand Spanish. So, the other guy who was Spanish, but he knew English, was interpreting what the guy was saying, what the numbers and the letters he saw. And I'm sitting there scratching my head. There was a congressman on Long Island, he's retired since, his name was Peter King. Going back over 20 years ago, he wanted to, if you wanted to come to this country and be here, fine, but you had to learn English and only English. And we know DMV being in New York, and they do it in other states too. They administer the test in multiple languages, whatever fit you. Well, guess what? The street signs and everything else is in English. And I'm saying to myself, and the exit signs on the highway, here's this guy, doesn't know how to speak English. How's he going to read the English on the signs? What are we doing? What are we creating? What are we bringing into our American culture? Okay, enough of this bullshit. You want to come here? Fine, come here legally. You want to live here? No English. English should be the number one language, and that's the bottom line. If you don't know English and you're not going to be able to pass your citizen test, I'm not going to give it to you in different languages, Mandarin, Spanish, whatever, German. You got to know English, and that I don't know what your thoughts on that, but those are my thoughts, especially experiencing that yesterday. You want to expand on that, Jonathan?
Hey, listen, I think if you're coming to our country, it's important to know the language. It's great, you have your own language from wherever you're coming from, but America, you're coming to America for a reason, and by constantly changing, like neighborhoods get changed, right? So what happens is some people come into a neighborhood, they don't speak English, let's say, little by little, that neighborhood may becoming a Spanish speaking only neighborhood. And when I say that, I'm not saying it where it's not. I'm not saying anything bad. I'm just saying what I see, right? So if
Mm-hmm.
we, what happens is like areas just flip and they become generally one type of people or one type of ethnicity, whatever it may be. It'd be a good thing if we can have a mixed environment where everyone is American first and foremost, and then afterwards, yeah, you have heritage. You're from Italy, you're from
Yeah.
China, whatever it may be.
Yes.
Uh, the differences is great. That's what makes America a great place. But we have to
We're a
have the
melting
common.
pot. Yeah, we're a
Yeah,
melt. Always have been a melting pot and continue, but we need to have a primary language. If you want to be here, you have to know how to read and speak English. It's only a fair thing, you know.
That's fair.
Um, Listen, let's talk about, because I've been having conversations, and yesterday I spoke to a handful of business owners. A lot of business owners, they're down 20%, and this is in a few different parts of the country. When you're down 20%, you have no profit anymore. That's what it comes down to. And they're even telling me the restaurants in their area, their peers, everybody's pretty much a minimum down 20%. Some are more. Some of them are looking, possibly closed and laying off a lot of people. And this is a sign of what you and I have been talking about. We talked about this in December when we were talking about what's 24 going to look like. And I've been warning people 24 is going to be rough, but 25 is going to be a lot rougher. All right. What's some of the feedback you're getting from your clients? Because I know you do the marketing angle of things.
Interesting enough, we've seen the lead time for closing clients a little longer now.
Okay.
And I think the election's having a big reason because people want to know where we're going to be heading. And
Yeah.
that's, I think
Allows
from
them
that point,
direction, which is understandable.
yeah, I mean, because when we may normally close sales within, let's say, 1 to 3 weeks, right? So now we're seeing it stretching past 3 weeks. We're seeing
Okay.
people, and these are not clients. These are just people that we're prospecting. These are just people that we come across. These are your small to medium-sized businesses, right? These are your family-run businesses. These aren't enterprise level companies with like 500 plus employees. These are people probably with like under 100 employees. And what we're seeing is that people are being prepared for the worst. They're really being, which honestly, they should be, right? Everyone should be planning and hoping things are great, but just being ready for what may come at them. And they're being selective with what they're buying. They're cutting back what they potentially need to spend and just trying out, smaller budgets to make sure that they can handle it and it works. Um, so yeah, it's funny because I just had a sales call right before this, and that's one of the things that we kept on talking about, how it's a little more difficult right now to get that close
Mhm.
compared to even a few months ago.
One of the
So
clients I was talking to yesterday, he's up in the Triangle area in Raleigh, North Carolina. And if anybody knows about the Triangle area, it's a huge industrial area since the beginning of the 70s. And it's just grown tremendously. A lot of IT stuff there. There's everything there, to be honest with you. But even the restaurants up there, he was telling me they used to always be packed for lunch. A lot of takeout orders and that. And the guy says, "Yeah, we're really hurting." And there's like this huge square of like a few restaurants there, and everybody's hurting. It's just like
oh,
it's not a
it,
good sign.
yeah, I mean, I think I mean, I guess every area, right? It's a little different. Some are more populated. I mean, I still see restaurants being pretty busy here, especially. I mean, the weekends they have to be busy. If they're not busy, they're done.
Hmm.
But I guess it's what I'm noticing is some of the restaurants doing is they're slimming down their menus, right? So that they don't have these long big menus. They kind of have like whatever, maybe 10 things, whatever it may be. So
Hmm.
I don't know if they're trying to adapt to the environment or just be a little easier because I know one of my good friends, they've owned a restaurant for 40 plus years and they
Right.
just sold the business because same thing. They don't really know where things are going to be heading. So it's
Yeah.
very again, we've talked about it many, many times. You got to be careful with what you're buying right now. You have to be looking and start planning for ahead. Where are
Yeah.
you going to be getting your new clients? Just do all the research and then, pre-plan on what you think is going to happen and you'll be ready.
I even have he's a friend, and I've known him for a long time. He runs a business in North Carolina. He has a manufacturing side of things. And I've always shared with him, what I told him 2 years ago about the economy, where things are going to be heading. It's just a question of when it's going to happen. How long can they float it? And now he's feeling it. He's not seeing it. He's feeling it. And one of his peers out in California, who's a Democrat, he actually said, "There's no way I can vote for Harris. No way." He's like, "If she gets in, we're done. With private businesses, we're done." That's
Yeah.
what they want to do. They just want to destroy the small businesses. And this is coming from a Democratic guy who's always voted Democrat. I think the guy's around 55. But he goes, the state I live in, electoral votes are going to go to her anyway. But he said, I can't vote for her. I said, I wish I lived in North Carolina because that's a swing state. I could help them there and vote for Trump. But, it's not looking good, dude. It's not looking good economically. But as I had said, a few times, even this past Friday, if Trump gets in, he's going to inherit a bad economy in 2025, but he can get us out of it quicker. That's the way I look at it. 2025 is going to be rough. If she gets in, she's just going to dig us deeper and deeper. It'll affect 26 and 27, and it's going to be, horrendous, horrendous. Anyway, do you have any closing thoughts?
Man, I think let's just keep intact with what's going on.
Yeah.
Read, and see what's going on.
And most importantly, you know what? Prayers to people in Florida with this Hurricane Milton that's going to hit
Yeah,
sometime early Thursday morning in the Tampa area and the West Coast. Let's just pray this thing tames down, because I know it built up to like a Category 5 yesterday. They're saying it'll hit at a Category 3, which is still heavy. And FEMA doesn't have any money to help these people because they're not helping the ones, up in North Carolina and Eastern Tennessee that need it. So, it's a bad situation. So let's just pray that Milton Lake tames down as much as possible. Listen, people, thumbs up. Please share. If you haven't subscribed, subscribe. Spread the news about it. You guys have a great day. Take care. Bye-bye.
take care.